Thank you. My name's Tim. I'm an alcoholic. My date of sobriety is 24th of July, 1993. Um, Thank you to the people that made this meeting possible, and thank you to Kitty. I'm not going to try and follow that. I'm just going to talk about myself. Um, I didn't plan, because it's only 15 minutes. If it's longer and it's on a concept, I might do a bit of planning, but otherwise I don't plan. But some things have occurred to me during the course of the meeting, and I want to talk about those. There's a quotation in my mind from something else, but I think it's pertinent to a discussion of alcoholism, where the person says, "Take not one step in the descent to hell, for having taken one, you will not recognize the rest for what they are, and they will follow." Very good. If I have the first drink, I'm toast. And the first drink looked frightfully appealing. Not appalling, appealing. It is appalling, but it looks appealing. Maybe my problem is spelling. um, Slips don't look too bad sometimes. People often come, I've known lots of people who've come back from slips. I slipped for, a good 6 months or so before I had my last drink. But when you see longer term someone in AA and then they slip, and where you see them a year later, 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later. There's another story about, it's one of those questions in philosophy. So if someone is trekking across the desert and there are two men that want to kill him, uh, the first one poisons the water in his water canister so that when he drinks the water as he's crossing the desert, he'll be poisoned. Now the second one doesn't know that the first one has done this, so he wants to kill the man as well. Very unpopular man, probably a sponsor, in fact. The second would-be murderer, not realizing that the water is already poisoned, punctures the water canister. So as the man is walking through the desert, um, the water drains out, and he dies of thirst. And the question is, who is the murderer? Is it the man that punctured the water canister, and so the man dies of thirst? Or is it the man who poisoned the water? And the thing about the alcoholic death, it looks like the alcoholic death is the dissolving of the literal dissolving and hemorrhaging of one's liver. It could be that, or it could be misadventure. I had trouble with traffic. I found traffic complicated when I was drinking and didn't successfully navigate it the whole time. Um, there are many ways of dying. What's the real reason? If I were to die of alcoholism, the real reason is not the thing which kills me. The real reason is when I don't go to my home group on a Saturday evening about 3 years before I have the first drink. That is the thing that kills me. That's when the death sentence is signed. The man in the desert, the death sentence was signed when the first man poisoned the water, not when the second man punctured the water canister. Um, so it's 1993 when I first got to AA, and there were around 500 AA groups at the time. And you look around, how many people in any group have 30 years sober or more? Not many. Now, it is true, London is very transitory. Lots of people, as they get older, move out of London. So if you go to meetings in North Devon, for instance, I'm almost bound to see someone I knew from London 30 years ago. And this is true all over the country. You go to meetings in Surrey, it's the same. There are lots of people 30, 40, 50 years sober sometimes. But that's not the only reason. It's very difficult to stay sober long term, or rather, that's putting it wrongly. That makes it sound like a very. It's not a hard thing to do. It's tricky, which is different. It's tricky because what I've had to do is work consistently and repeatedly at the steps, the traditions, and the concepts to be very diligent and stupidly loyal to home groups and to the practice of sponsorship in both directions, being sponsored and sponsoring others. Doing regular inventories, prayer and meditation, the whole kit and caboodle. It's tricky because that is literally it, but it's an oddly difficult thing to do. And it shouldn't be. In the first year, all I've had to do in the last 29 years is really do this, whatever I did in the first year. The tricky bit is not getting distracted by everything else, not getting complacent, not thinking, oh, I've got it now, I'm all right now. That's the alcoholism is very, very tricky. It will tell me I do not need to do what I did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So, a long time ago, I decided to make myself very stupid in AA. And I'll give you an example. I remember Maureen said to me in 1993, you must go to religiously at least 2 meetings a week, if not three, which and those ones that you go to, you may go to many others, but those ones you go to them unless you're dead, condition number one, or out of town, that's condition number two. And now I do many more meetings than that. In fact, I do morning meet. I'll tell you what I do. I do a morning meditation meeting with some friends in AA, 7 a.m., 20 minutes, boom, done. Get on with the day. Very good. Online. Just me and 120 of my closest friends, but I do that. I go to face-to-face AA meetings on Friday night, Saturday night. I have my AA home group, one of them on Friday lunchtime. I also do Al-Anon. I do a number of Al-Anon meetings and another fellowship as well. There are lots and lots and lots of meetings in there. But Maureen's never phoned me. Maureen's still sober, by the way. She's never phoned me up and said, by the way, I was wrong. I rescind the command. I take it back. You needn't go to meetings. My stupidity lies in saying, she told me that. I trust her. I will continue to do it. She hasn't sponsored me in 28 years. But she is still sponsoring me. There are many things I've heard. My sponsor's previous sponsor, everything moves around a lot. Same board, same pieces, but things move around. My sponsor's old sponsor was at an AA conference in Las Vegas. Let me just get rid of this call. Um, was at a AA conference in Las Vegas, and someone posed the question. All the people round the room who were oh, give me a moment. Am I back? Oh, marvelous, very good. Uh, Let me just turn something off so that doesn't happen again. Just a sec. There we go. Um, Conference in Las Vegas. The table, it was the speakers' table. So there were people, most of them are 30 to 40 years sober. And someone posed the question, have you ever known anyone that has thoroughly followed this path and continued to follow it with sponsorship and continually working the steps who has relapsed? And they all thought at length. These are people who've known thousands of AA members. Not one of them could think of one example. Very, very simple. But the ego has got other ideas. The world has got other ideas. My senses bombard me with 1,000 other things to be interested in than doing God's will and trying to serve the higher power in the world. I've got to remember there's a greater reality beyond the material reality. That's why I drank. I think, Kitty, you used the line, I'd had enough. The reason I drank is because I saw the world and I thought, I've had enough. I'm going to have a drink because I've had enough of this, whatever this is, I've had enough of it. And when I'd had enough of that, I'd had enough a second time. I thought, now I need to be sober. I've had enough of drinking. So first of all, I had enough of the planet. Then I had enough of drinking. I can't go back to where I started because that's what I eventually had enough of. That's what I can't go back to the thing that I had enough of, which is why I drank. I've got to find something more. I've got to be very careful of what the world tells me. Um, there's a line by William Blake where he says, "This life's 5 windows of the soul," in other words, the 5 senses. This life's 5 windows of the soul distort the heavens from pole to pole and lead you to believe a lie when you see with, not through the eye. And in my first meeting, I didn't see a load of dreary old drunks. I saw through what was physically in the room to something which lay beyond, which was hope. There was nothing physical in that room which told me there was hope. I saw something which I hadn't seen in a very long time. And I've got to do that today. I've got to do that continually to manually recall there is a heaven which lies beyond this world of one pole to the other pole. And there are various points at which this other realm peeps through. When you're sponsoring someone and you suddenly see them relaxed for the first time, or when your sponsee says, "I've got a new sponsee, what do? I want to push them down the stairs, they're so annoying." But you're thrilled. You're thrilled because it's worked. They're now no longer interested in you, they're more interested in their sponsee than they are in themselves or in you. Very good. You've done your job. Um, when you're at work and the most important thing that happened today was asking someone how their day was. You don't care how your career is going, but you ask someone how their day was, and light comes through from somewhere else. Um, that is the thing that I live off, is what comes through from the higher realms. It is nothing in the world. I was talking to my other half um, the other day. For an other half I have now. I wouldn't have another half if I were drinking. I wouldn't have a first half probably, let alone alone another half. Um, but we live very we basically don't give a shit about a lot of things, material things. We can't be bothered. Um, and he said, compared to what we do for a living, we don't have a very high standard of living. And I said, I think we do. We have our dinner together and we never argue. What more do you want? He said, "Oh, you know what I mean." Because he agrees with me. Really, this is how we live. We just don't care. We just get on with it, and what matters sort of people and each other, and that's kind of it. It makes life a lot simpler when there's nothing to want. I can't be wanting. I used to get some sickly pleasure out of wanting things, as if the very wanting was the pleasure itself. Like, when you're about 17 and when you're in love with someone and you can't have them, but you enjoy the feeling of wanting the person, and you would rather want them and not have them than not want them at all, even when it's clear they're not going to be interested. That wanting was a very enticing swamp of meanness. And it's disgusting. I don't want any, because want means lack as well. When I want, I'm saying I lack something, and I don't lack anything. I'm all right, so I don't need to go anywhere or do anything. Very simple, very unattractive. If you're in a wanting position, you won't want that. You'll want something else. But today I want what I have, and because I want what I have, I don't want to drink. Why would I want to drink? It's disgusting. I'm all right. I'm all right as I am. I don't want to lose that. That's all I've got. Thank you for listening.